What we're going to talk about here is how you can change the keyboard shortcuts so that they fit your work style. Now, with this age of tons and tons of computer applications, keeping track of what key does what in which application can be quite overwhelming. So even though I have not yet found it possible to match every application to the way I work, I try my best. For example, when I'm in Illustrator, certain keys perform certain functions. But when I'm in a different application that might be similar to Illustrator, or a completely different application altogether, like a 3D application, that key on the keyboard is going to do something entirely different. This can lead to confusion. So, what you can do, as I mentioned before, is to try your best to match the keys to do the same functions in as many applications as you can. Takes a little bit of work, but in the long run, it's worth it. So, you would think that the options would be in your preferences to change the keyboard shortcuts, but you'll notice that they really aren't in here. Instead, they are located under the Edit menu. So if I go to Edit, I go all the way to the bottom, I have keyboard shortcuts. And the funny thing about this is the keyboard shortcut to access this option is kind of crazy. It's like reading an old rune from the Druid age. So here is the keyboard shortcuts dialog box. And what we have here are sets. We also have the ability to change things like the tools or the menu commands. So as you can see, when we choose to edit the menu commands, we can scroll these open and we can find what we want to change. So if you're not happy with the Command or Control Z key for undo, you can change it. So let's talk about how to safely use this and how to fix things when things go completely awry. So let's say that we want to change the undo, which is something I wouldn't do because in pretty much every application, Command or Control Z is the default for undoing. So I'll go ahead and click on the shortcut here. And I'll enter something else. I'll just put H. All right. Now, we already know that the H key belongs to something else, but I didn't hold down a modifier key. Now, what a modifier key is, as you can see here by the little warning I got when I simply typed the letter H, is it says that menu shortcuts must contain the command modifier or be a function key. A function key is something like F1, F2, F3, and a modifier is something like Command, Control, Alt, and that kind of thing. So it's telling me that I have to put a Command or Control H here. So I'll do that, and we get a different message this time. You see, the dialog box is smart enough to realize that some of these commands are already assigned to other functions, and it's going to tell you that before you make that change. It already knows that the Command H is already in use by the Hide Edges command. The menu item will no longer have a keyboard shortcut. So what it's trying to tell you is if you change this, the other command is no longer going to be available to you if you try to use this key because you're assigning it to a different function. So if you don't want to do that, hit undo. And you can also go to the go to button here to go to this command so you can change it to something else if you want to. So I'm going to hit go to, and you see that it brings me here, and I can enter a different command for the hide edges function, which is not what I want to do. So I'm going to undo, and then my undo is back to the Command or Control Z. Once I'm happy with changing around my options, I can then choose Save here. Or if I change my mind, I can always go to Cancel. I can always go to Redo to change that back to what I assigned it to. Undo. I can choose to clear it, which gets rid of it altogether. So to make sure I don't change any of this stuff, the best thing I can do is hit Cancel. Now I can go back to that function and start all over if I want to. So don't let this worry you too much because you can always come back and fix things. Now, as you can see here, the Illustrator defaults is here. So if you do decide to change 50 things, for example, and you mess up and you save that as a different set, it's going to live here under the set command. All you have to do is go back to your Illustrator defaults, and the way it was installed will appear again once you choose that option. So feel free to experiment. And always remember, you can come back to the default at any time. If you change your mind, you're not sure you want to do this, always hit the cancel, and then you'll be good to go.